Had you told me that I was going to create an education experience where people go in and then they leave completely transformed, more like the person they always wished they could be, I wouldn't have known what to say to you. In fact, I built this thing because I had a certain set of skills that I thought everyone should have access to that make the difference between just showing up, going to a job every day, doing your best to implement the best thinking, the best understanding of how to move people, how to create an energetic team that achieves outcomes that nobody else is capable of achieving. And I ended up making something that changes lives. I'm so proud of what we've built, and I would love to see you there. So if you have a sense that in order to do what you do better, you need something they don't teach in Scrum Master School, come see me in the Forge. I believe there's no other education experience like it. I can see the change that we're making. I can see the difference that Forge members make in the lives of those around them, and I'm so excited to keep it going. Go on over to badassagile.com, click the Forge banner to sign up for an upcoming info session. And let's face it, the people that I'm speaking to right now are those who have already been thinking, I want to be part of this. You know you belong here. You know this is the right investment for you. Those are the people that I want to speak to. There's never been a better time. Make the jump. Join me in the Forge. What happens when a coach or Scrum Master finishes their time with a team? Do you get the creeping suspicion that people might backslide into their old ways of thinking and doing? Well, you're not alone. That's this week on the Badass Agile podcast. Greetings, team. Welcome to the Badass Agile podcast. I'm your host, Chris Williams. Welcome back, everybody. Thank you for tuning into the show as always. I hope you're having a great summer. What's backsliding? How come people get really inspired by a better way of doing things or a better outcome, but the moment you're not there as a coach to help them stay the course, they have a tendency to forget what we accomplished, the breakthroughs, and start sliding back downhill? Before we dig in, let's take a moment to remember why we're here. To create an elite tribe of leaders who truly serve their clients and communities by doing what matters and what works, relentlessly chasing value and excellence like a badass. There's so many resources out there about what you need to do to be agile, but we're focused on who you need to become in order to lead teams. So let's hammer down those fundamentals to create a truly unique and powerful force in this industry. And remember, if this helps you, tell your friends, won't you? Don't forget to check out The Forge, find me on Facebook in the Badass Agile Listener Lounge, and also check out what I'm doing these days on Clubhouse. You can just search for Badass Agile and make sure you become part of the community. Now, there's a couple of reasons why a team might backslide into old habits and mindsets. The first one is that there's not enough time to build a habit. This one happens to me a lot because I don't always spend months or years with a team. Sometimes I'm just brought in to do a keynote. Sometimes I'm brought in to do a workshop. Sometimes I do things like the Forge Professional where I spend 12 weeks with a team. But even then, at the current pace of work, the current rate of business, the kind of pressure that I see people under, it's becoming more and more common that even 12 weeks is not enough to have the teaching stick. And that brings up a second, and maybe for me more compelling reason why some of these changes don't take hold. Because when things get busy or difficult, we have a tendency to let go of anything that is new, not related to our survival, that hasn't been habitualized or acclimatized yet. There's a saying that in times of great pressure, we won't always rise to the occasion, but we'll fall back to the level of our training. And I found that to be true. And that's even if I've spent 3 months with a team. It just hasn't become second nature yet. So when things get challenging, people naturally are going to focus on what they believe works because it's worked for them for decades, not months. Now, sometimes even in the absence of pressure, anxiety, or massive frightening change, there's just not enough of an emotionally compelling reason to stay the course. Check this out in your own life. You'll see it to be true. Anytime you decided to take on a habit, maybe it was a better exercise regimen, a healthier way of eating, trying to quit smoking or some other addiction, getting rid of a bad habit, or bringing on a new one like reading more books. If you're doing something just because you've been told you ought to, or you think that you should, that won't be enough to help the habit stick. There has to be an alignment to a higher ideal, a higher sense of self, a desire for some great benefit. And when I say desire, I mean a strong desire, a real hunger, or an emotionally compelling need to avoid pain. If you don't have those things, the internal drive, the internal motivation, the internal reason or why, then changing mindsets and habits that are deeply embossed is going to be extremely difficult. And the last reason that we should consider for backsliding into old behavior is that the pain of changing is worse than the pain of not changing, meaning there is more joy, more reward in standing still, in not changing, not endeavoring, not daring, not risking. That feels better than the benefit that we think we're going to get from making the change itself. You've done this in your own life. Think about it. Think about a time when you knew you should change something. In fact, the danger, the incentive, would seem to be so present and so big that how could you make any other choice? And yet you kept on doing the thing you knew you shouldn't be doing. You failed to make the change that you knew you needed to make because the pain of changing your routine, of changing your beliefs, was just too hard. Now think of this. The problem gets worse in modern Scrum because more and more aren't we being asked to serve 4 teams, 6 teams, 8 teams? For a contract coach like I used to be, I would parachute in and work with a large number of teams for usually a short period of time. No more than 3 to 6 months was very common. It becomes even more frustrating if you're just delivering a keynote somewhere or trying to change the world through a podcast. You parachute in. You deliver some messaging meant to inspire. You deliver strategies meant to inform. You deliver tactics meant to enable, but you can't help the team really habitualize them, really bring them home. So what do you do? Is this just human nature? Can we change? Can we do better? I believe we can. Here are some tips to avoid backsliding in your teams when engagements are short. You can't connect to the team at an emotional level long enough to make the change. Or the teams are under so much pressure that everything you're trying to give them eventually just goes in one ear and out the other because they're focused on higher priority survival. Number 1, all coaching engagements should include some kind of measurement and follow-up, just like a good doctor does. I need to know if you're taking the medicine. So if you're a Scrum Master or coach, one of the things that you should be doing is put something in place either for the next Scrum Master or make it part of your practice that you personally will check in with the team on some kind of measure of success. Measures of success for the team, but also measures of success as defined by the people who pay for the team, the stakeholders, the leadership. There's a saying that what gets measured gets done. I prefer that those measurements are collectively defined and based on metrics that deliver real value to the people and the clients that you're trying to serve. Number 2, all commitments must include a personalized why. So as we're thinking about measuring and checking in on those measurements, even after we're gone, even if it ends up being someone else who's doing the check-in, if those commitments aren't bonded to a personalized why for each and every member of the team, they won't stick. So take the time during your engagement to ask each team member, why do you do this? Why is this important to you? Why do you work for this company? Why do you care about the customers that they serve? What's an exciting and compelling outcome for you? This is important because if people are struggling to keep their commitments, if they look you in the eye and they admit that they're making excuses, they're not staying true to the path, it's helpful if you know about their why so that you can communicate back to them. Is this the action level required for you to reach the heights, the goals, the ambitions that you're seeking? You told me that you work for this company because you believe that you could change the world by making travel easier. You could change the world with better technology, more accessibility, more equality, better diversity, lower cost products, whatever compels you to get up and come to this job every day. Are you taking the steps necessary? Are you putting in the commitment? Are you showing up with consistency in a way that's going to help bring about that result? Most people intuitively know the answer to that question. And oftentimes, it can help turn the corner on their commitment. Number 3, find somebody in the team, a nested coach, who can or will take over for you when you can no longer serve this team. We mentioned the importance of following up, either personally or having someone else that you can hand the baton to, but you have to start grooming them now. You can't just show up on your last day of work and say, all right, who's taking over? Who's going to be responsible for the measurements once I'm gone? Connect with the other leaders in the team, the other people who care about our collective growth. Make this one of the accountabilities that you want to install and leave behind after you're gone. Number 4, you have to make failure okay. This doesn't just apply to backsliding, of course. This is an enabler for the team at large. They need this comfort and safety in order to operate, but it's one of the big reasons why backsliding occurs the minute you take your foot off the gas. Make mastery, personal mastery, professional mastery, and team mastery a path, not a target, not a destination, not a place that they need to get to, but something that they engage in every day. And remember, because backsliding is so common, you have to make it okay for them to make excuses from time to time, for the actual backsliding to occur. The goal is not to avoid backsliding. It's to catch it as soon as we see it and to apply our best coaching or team leadership efforts to stemming the tide and reversing course. So let people make targets and miss them, and then let them revise their targets, but don't let them off the hook for sustaining a target. Now here's another thing that you can do. Number 5, create accountability pairs for when you can't be in the team room, when you've finished your engagement, when you've moved on to another project or program or team. It's not just important to have one leader who sustains growth, right thinking, right action, but have people hold each other accountable. Creating an accountability pair enables a simple morning ritual daily habit where they check in with each other, become intimate with one another's goals, and in a way that doesn't feel like push management, they hold each other accountable. Hey, it's Chris. I'm just checking in. You said that you wanted to read 5 new books by the end of the quarter. You wanted to have 3 key takeaways and growth targets for yourself. How'd you do? Have you read the books? Have you created the targets? Hey, it's Chris checking in. You said you wanted more courage, so you were going to do one scary thing every day, document it, and share it with me. What was yesterday's scary thing? So the accountability partner allows you to still set your own targets that are meaningful to you, that are supported by your why. But you've got someone else in the mix with you, someone else who's right up to the neck in the mud and the stress and the awful, who's rooting for you and you for them. Here's number 6. You've heard me speak about this before, but a good time to remind you to use creeds and agreements. Whenever you get the chance, help a team forge a creed, the poster that you stick on the wall, that is aspirational in the sense that it describes who the team wishes to be, how they want to be seen by others, and what behaviors and values they want to embrace and show to the world. Obviously, you have to let the team define their own creed. But the beautiful thing is if you have that brainstorming exercise in the room with everybody present, they'll usually come up with the same qualities: transparency, accountability, quality, open and honest communication, commitment, showing up on time, keeping your promises. Now you use the creed as a leader to coach them into their own highest ideals when they're struggling. If everyone in the room agreed that open and honest communication is important, then when you're doing a retrospective and people are looking at their shoes, you can remind them, hey guys, together, we agreed, not me, we agreed that open and honest communication was a core value without which we won't thrive. So who's going to be the first to show up today? Do you need me to let you off the hook for our own commitments, our own promises, and our own values? Or do we all need to dig a little deeper today? Do we all need to just reach for that extra 5% and open up? I love creeds. I know a lot of people don't think that they're useful, but when the things on that poster on the wall almost make you want to shed a tear because they're so inspiring, so passionate, so uplifting, I think there's great value in it. And the final thing, number 7, that I think that you can do that really helps to avoid backsliding is prearrange at the beginning of an engagement, knowing that the challenge will come, knowing that there's no such thing as a team that doesn't backslide a little or maybe even a lot once the scrum master or coach can no longer be present on the daily basis, is prearrange a list of commitments that sound like this. When I catch myself not doing my morning ritual, I will ... When I catch myself engaging in low-value, groupthink behaviors like randomly attending 2-hour meetings just because somebody asked me to, I will ... When I find myself procrastinating on the hard things that would really move the team forward, I will ... Let each person create and share a list of commitments that we can use in practice while you're still in with the team, but will also serve them long after you're gone. Try these out. Reach out to me and let me know how it goes. I always love to hear from you guys. How's this working for you in practice? What happens if it doesn't work? How can I help you get even better and better? My friends, you can find me as always at badassagile.com. You can reach out as well on Twitter at badass_agile or on Instagram at badassagile. Everything you need is down in the show notes below. I look forward to seeing you next time. And until then, stay badass.